Trade policy, simply put, is the rules that countries use when trading with one another and exchanging goods between countries. It can be quite simple at times. So a country that's signed up to the World Trade Organization and is abiding by, or signed up to their general agreement on tariffs and trade, that serves as the basis for which countries can send goods, tangible products between one another. But trade policy can move very quickly from there into a much more complex beast. So for example, the EU's recent trade agreement with Canada encompasses not only goods trade policy and tariffs and rules of origin, but it goes much more broader than that and includes things such as intellectual property and services. So trade policy can be quite diverse. In terms of why it's important for Africa, there's three reasons that stand out to me. There are many more, but the three reasons why trade policy is so important for Africa is because trade policy serves as a tool through which market access can be increased. So by signing trade agreements between countries or having agreements about trade between countries, that opens up the African market to other countries, which means that our goods and services have the possibility of being traded more easily. Secondly, trade policy not only increases market access but also restricts market access, which could actually be a good thing. So there are some goods that we may not want to be coming in to Africa, which trade policy can help to restrict. Or trade policy can also help to shift African producers into particular directions and away from other directions, so trading with one country as opposed to another. And lastly, trade policy is important because it's a tool that countries use on the international stage for economic purposes. So an example of that would be the recent China-US trade tension war. So for all of these reasons, I think that trade policy is massively important for Africa. Africa and Europe have a complex trading relationship, and that relationship has grown and evolved over time. At the moment, Europe and the UK within Europe trades with Africa through two main mechanisms. The first mechanism being what's technically referred to as a unilateral trade preference scheme. In simple words, Europe allows some African countries and some developing countries to import goods into the EU at lower rates than what would be charged for other countries, and Europe doesn't ask for anything back in return. And this scheme is split into three different tranches. It's formally called the Generalized Scheme of Preferences, GSP for short. And within those tranches, the first tranche gives access for least developing countries. The next tranche gives access for lower middle income countries, and then there's an additional tranche that gives further access for countries that abide by particular international human rights conventions. So that's one way in which Europe trades with some African countries, and the other way through which Europe trades with some African countries is through economic partnership agreements, which are bilateral agreements. So both countries sign up and both countries agree to reduce their tariffs over a set amount of time. Not everybody's a fan of these EPAs, but that's the trading relationship that exists now. So the African Continental Free Trade Agreement is a new initiative that many African countries have signed up to have a new trading relationship and trading body and bring Africa together as a trading bloc. And AFCFTA has a really good opportunity to change the trading relationship between Africa and the rest of the world, not only Europe, because it has the opportunity to completely rewrite the script. Africa being a completely new bloc, that would mean that the way how we have previously traded through GSP and through EPAs could be fundamentally changed. It could be a basis upon which new negotiations could begin. So if Africa is able to develop the capacity to effectively engage in trade negotiations with the rest of the world based on AFCFTA, that could be a massive opportunity for African countries. So from this side of the fence, Africa is viewed as two distinct blocks, North Africa being one block and Sub-Saharan Africa being another block. And the reason why I find this so interesting is because from my experience of being on the ground, Sub-Saharan Africans is not a phrase at all. Countries seem to be in their own silos. So there could be opportunities for Sub-Saharan Africa to actually come together as a bloc and speak more clearly about their desires and interests for development and prosperity on the global stage. But regardless of that, another clear perception from the West, and I think more widely globally, is that Africa is the next source of seismic economic growth. The statistics that I can call to mind are that I think it's by 2025, the consumer market is going to be worth 1.7 trillion US dollars, and Africa's population is set to double by 2050, which has massive opportunities, massive risks also, and the West and other countries all around the world are gearing up to best support that will align their interests with where they see Africa going. So Africans can respond to this opportunity by, so for me, one of the really big things that would be really helpful for Africa to have is an overarching strategic framework through which countries have a clear vision as to who is doing what in Africa, or for there to at least be clarity as to where support could be granted. So whether there's going to be a particular country or a particular city that's going to lead on financial services for that area, or whether there's going to be particular support for healthcare in a particular area as well. But that overarching strategic narrative just is not there for countries to aim at, and I think that would be massively helpful. And for me, so something I'm really passionate about is infrastructural development and the benefits of that long term. So those are some of the areas that, some of the changes or areas of further focus that Africa could give.